Our top story this morning, though, South Korea is expecting to see its highest daily COVID-19 tally thus far on Tuesday. The surge is overwhelmingly due to the spread of the Omicron variant, which is causing cluster infections, particularly in Seoul and its surrounding areas.
So to try and contain the spread, the country is preparing a new Omicron-tailored COVID-19 prevention strategy set to be announced on Wednesday. For more on this, we have our Shin Ye-eun with us here in the studio. Good morning, Yeun.
Good morning.
So let's start with the infections today. What are we expecting?
Right, Mok-yeon, so we're expecting to see a record high addition on this Tuesday. Up to 9 p.m. Monday, the country logged 7,437 new infections, the largest amount ever reported during this time frame. So for the first time ever, we may see the daily tally on Tuesday surpass the 8,000 mark. The upsurge in cases comes as the highly contagious Omicron variant becomes the dominant strain.
So just how much has Omicron been spreading in South Korea since it became the dominant strain?
Well, regions like Honam, Gyeongbuk, and Gangwon particularly have been hit the hardest. 8 out of 10 infections in the Honam region were Omicron. Gyeongbuk has identified nearly 70% of all cases as Omicron, whereas for Gangwon, this number is nearly 60%. And Omicron is also responsible for a breakout of cluster infections in the greater Seoul area. It's responsible for nearly 90% of all cases in Pyeongtaek City of Gyeonggi-do Province. And it's rapidly spreading due to cluster outbreaks at a U.S. military base and nursing home. Now, during a briefing on Monday, KDCA Commissioner Chung Eun-kyung cited domestic data which proved booster shots play an effective role in fighting against this variant. Take a listen to what she said.
We've seen how many neutralizing antibodies one could build after getting a booster shot or a third extra jab. It turns out a booster shot can increase antibodies against Omicron by up to 100 times.
So like you've said, Yeun, authorities are planning to shift to another strategy that's more focused on tackling Omicron. Tell us more on this.
Right, from Wednesday, South Korea will launch new virus prevention measures that focus on tackling the Omicron variant. And the biggest change is that new virus prevention measures will focus on effectively utilizing limited medical quarantine resources. And instead of trying to bring the total number of new infections down, authorities said they would concentrate on treating those considered high risk using efficient epidemiological research and testing. And this means COVID-19 testing centers will start testing only high-risk groups and suspected infections with the PCR test. Everyone else will have to test themselves using rapid antigen test kits. And this will shorten the lines and speed up the process at testing centers. And the latest measure will kick off in Gwangju, Jeollanam-do, and Pyeongtaek City and Ansong City in Gyeonggi-do Province from Wednesday. And the faster and more efficient new testing method will be expanded nationwide as early as the end of this month or early February. And there will also be a change in the number of days fully vaccinated patients must remain in isolation. The isolation period will be shortened to a week, down from what was originally known as 10 days.
Right, we're now into year 3 of this pandemic, and a great many international experts say at this point COVID-19 is endemic. In other words, it's never going away. What are experts here in Korea saying?
Well, for starters, the government is saying that in order for COVID-19 to become endemic, the fatality rate has to go down. In a briefing on Monday, a top authority from the Central Disaster Management Headquarters, Son Young-rae, said based on the current situation in Korea, it's difficult to predict whether COVID-19 will shift into becoming an endemic. But he said research is continuing on this matter. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of data showing a drop in the fatality rate among Omicron patients overseas. Son Young-rae said Korea could see COVID-19 becoming endemic as long as it can be treated like a seasonal flu. And meanwhile, some local experts said it's important that Korea itself comes up with its own determinants regarding when it can evaluate the COVID-19 situation being endemic, rather than applying indicators used abroad. One doctor told Yonhap News Agency that unlike the US and UK, where many non-vaccinated people attained immunity through mass outbreaks, Korea might see the COVID-19 situation deteriorate because it has a very high vaccination rate and relatively smaller scale of infections.
All right, Yeun, thank you so much for your report. Keep us updated through the week.
Thank you so much.